What is going on, everyone? I am Thomas Miner. I am an agent with Remax Precision. I'm a member of the Sphere Real Estate Group, and this is Thomas Talks on Thursday. I realize it is actually Wednesday. I do this show every week to talk about Central Iowa real estate in general, Des Moines news, anything that I find interesting that can somewhat be connected to living in Central Iowa or the real estate world. And today I am making a video, one, because I think it's kind of an interesting time to answer this type of question. And two, I just want to send a video to people that always ask me, how is the market? And the answer to that question truly is it depends on what you are trying to do. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk to you guys about where I think the Central Iowa market is right now and how I would define it as far as is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? Or is it truly just neutral? And I'm going to do this built around a statistic called months of inventory, which I will get into quicker. But what I'm going to get to first is every week, I will put up a post saying what I'm going to planning on talking about and asking my friends, family, followers for questions they have or comments they have about what I'm talking about. So this week I posted, hey, what are the vibes? Is it a seller's market? Is it a buyer's market? Is it neutral? And I did get some comments and I want to read those first before I get into statistics and what I think they might say. So I'm going to check really quick. We did get Nora actually just commented on that post that I talked about, saying, like everything else in real estate, the answer is it depends. Let's get into some of the other answers on what kind of market we're sitting. Another common answer. Brian says it depends on the price point and the location. It's very, very true. I think those are two really, really big factors. You should know, hey, I'm at this price point and this price point is selling faster than others. It's a really good thing to know. Location can vary a ton. I mean, if you're looking at certain parts of Des Moines, West Des Moines, compared to Johnston, compared to Waukee, compared to Ankeny, compared to Norwalk, all of these markets are fairly close to each other, but they are different. There are different things going on. So these are very, very good points. Jared said the market is neutral. Certain markets have really strong buyers markets and others have really strong seller markets. And then, for example, a $260,000 house in Ankeny is going to go quick. A $550,000 new construction in Northwest Grimes might not go as quick. But in general, I agree with what Jared is saying. It is somewhat neutral. We'll get into the statistics. It just common sense will tell you, hey, it is a $550,000 house is not going to sell as quickly as a $260,000 house, even if they're in the same exact neighborhood. Like it's just one has a bigger pool of buyers for it, and then the other one doesn't have as big of a pool of buyers for it. And the inventory is actually somewhat close. So the lower price point homes are turning through inventory a lot quicker. So let's go through what I got going on here today. And I'm actually going to make this bigger so it's easier for people to read. You guys probably don't need to see my face as much. Let's do that. I like that view, I think. What does this look like? Let's do that. Cool. So what is months of inventory? Months of inventory basically is if we were to take the inventory that we're at now and we don't add any more inventory, based on our previous 6 months of sales, how long is it going to take us to sell out of our current inventory? So we have 90 homes on market and we're selling about 30 homes per month. It's going to take us 3 months to sell through our current inventory. As simple as that. 3 months of inventory or less is generally considered a seller's market. Anywhere between 3 and 5 months is generally considered a neutral market. Anything above 5 months or higher of inventory is considered a buyer's market. So what does that mean? 3 months of inventory or less would typically tell you we're a seller's market. That would mean in most real estate negotiations, the seller is at an advantage. 3 to 5 months, there's no clear statistic saying either buyers or sellers are at an advantage when it comes to negotiation. 5 months or higher, the months of inventory statistic would be saying buyers are at an advantage. Here is a really, really important caveat to add. Let's do this really quick. Yeah, I like that better. Okay. Really, really important caveat to add is just because the market as a whole is saying, hey, you're in a seller's market or hey, you're in a buyer's market, does not mean that there aren't certain homes that will sell quickly in a buyer's market or there aren't certain homes that will sit for a long time in a seller's market. Real estate is so unique because even if you have a new construction builder build the same exact floor plan with the same exact finishes on two different lots, they're still unique. They're still different because one lot might be considered better than the other. Is it a corner lot? Is it flatter? It doesn't have a big slope to it. There's where does it sit? What does it back up to? There's all these different unique factors that even if a builder were to build the same exact home, they could be considered different values by a potential buyer, and one could sell quicker than the other for any unique reason. Even the direction the front door faces can be a reason that a buyer would pick one over the other. Is it a big difference? No. If it's the same exact floor plan, same exact finishes, it's not a big difference, but there are differences. Even in that situation, now take that to resale homes where the central Iowa market has homes built all the way in the late 1800s, all the way up to today. So there's different ages, there's different conditions, there's different areas, there's so many different things to get into. Real estate is all so unique that just because you're selling to the seller's market doesn't necessarily mean you're just going to get offer on the first day, so to speak. But it does mean that you are probably in a better position than anyone looking to sell in a buyer's market in general. It's just one statistic. I pulled all of these numbers that I'm going to get into yesterday. I did Polk, Dallas, and Warren County all together, trying to get just the Des Moines metro in general. I wanted to get a snapshot of that. So those are the 3 counties I decided to do. And I pulled it from the DMAAR MLS, the Des Moines Area Association of Realtors. So that's where all this sales data came from. So let's get into it. Big overview. All homes we're sitting at, it's just over 3 months of inventory. So that'd be considered a neutral market. Resale single family. So everything that's not new construction falls into resale, 2.39. So it's just inside of the seller's market. Resale condos and townhomes, neutral market, that's at 3.87. New construction is at 4.03. Neutral market. New construction condos and townhomes are at 6 months of inventory. So we're in a buyer's market there. So I'm going to talk about this really quick. So depending on what you're looking to sell or what you're looking to buy, just even in these 3 counties, you could potentially be the neutral, seller, or buyer. So we have all 3 of them. They're all kind of hovering right around neutral, though. But when people ask me how the market is, this is how I come up with the answer. It depends, because there is quite a bit of variability depending on what you're looking to do. And it gets even more interesting when you factor in price. So let's look at the next slide that I got going here, and I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. So what I did was I took the last 6 months of sales and I looked at, hey, what is in whatever I'm looking at. So let's look at resale single family homes here. If you have a home that's listed at 267, that would put you exactly in the 40th percentile as far as prices go. That would put you in 1.96 months of inventory. That would put you in a seller's market. And then I looked at the price point of what if it was above the 60th percentile. That would put you in 3.02. So what is the trend you notice there? Lower priced homes are in more of a seller's market. And then the higher price point you get, it starts trending towards a neutral. And if you were to go even higher, it probably trends towards a buyer's market. Resale condo is the only one that doesn't fit this category. So $185,000 condo or below would put you below the 40th percentile. That's 4.23 months of inventory neutral market. 250 or above would put you in the 60th percentile or above. That's 3.77 months of inventory. That's a neutral market. So this is the only one where the months of inventory went down when we shifted towards a higher price range of condo or townhome. The factor that I think is playing in here is I think this is pointing out HOAs that are being mismanaged and having to increase their HOA fees. Because once you increase the HOA fee, that affects the new buyer's monthly payment. Therefore, a new buyer would not be willing to pay as much money for it because most new buyers are mostly concerned about what their monthly payment is going to be. They're not necessarily concerned about the sales price. Sale price goes into the monthly payment, but they're more concerned about what their total monthly payment is going to be. So your loan, your interest, your taxes, your HOA fees, your insurance. So if you have a poorly run HOA that has a high HOA fee, maybe it doesn't cover as much, it's actually going to increase your insurance. Those are all factors that would make someone want to offer less on a townhome. So all of those townhomes and condos that are having those issues are having to sell at lower prices. So it puts them in that below 185. And there's quite a bit of them on the market as well, too. So that's making the months of inventory increase on those compared to the higher price point ones, the ones that are managed well, the ones that are probably in better shape. Those are selling quicker. So there's just not enough buyers out there for those condos and townhomes that are below that 185. So that's why the months of inventory is weird there. New construction. If you're selling a new construction home that's 368 or under, that would put you below the 40th percentile. Those are in a seller's market. Those are 2.64 months of inventory. So that puts you seller's market. If you're over 411, this is one of the biggest shifts I saw on all of these. That would put you at 5.4. That would put you in a buyer's market. So it's very, very interesting. If you're looking at the higher price point new construction, you're actually hunting in a buyer's market. If you're looking for lower price point new construction, you're competing with a lot of other buyers. You're going to be buying in the seller's market. So the new construction companies are having a lot easier time selling those 360 or below new construction houses. Condos and townhomes, looking at these statistics, you can make an argument that these new construction builders are probably building too many of these. 255 or below would put you in the below 40th percentile. They have 4.8 months of inventory on that. So that's a neutral market. If it's 298 or above, there seems to be a lot of those. That puts them in the 60th percentile. That puts you at 7.3 months of inventory. So pretty strong buyer's market. That's the strongest buyer's market of anything I have pulled up here. Now, if you're interested, if you want to have these for yourself, I can definitely email you these slides if you want to see them. But the thing you got to think about when you're looking at these, it depends on what you're looking to do. But if you're someone that currently owns a home that I have labeled one of these sellers markets, and you think the next thing that you're going to move to is one of these buyers markets, what I would point out to you is that would put you in an extremely advantageous position. Because what I always tell people is no matter what the market is, if you're looking to sell and buy, you're probably going to be selling and buying in the same type of market. So congrats, you're in a seller's market. You're going to have a really, really easy time selling your house, but then you have to flip around and go buy in that seller's market. But because of the market that we're currently in, there's lots of opportunity to say, sell your house that's going to be listed below 267, be in a seller's market. and maybe you're getting older and you're downsizing and you want to have less stress in your life and you want to go buy a new construction condo or townhome that's over 298, a nice luxury condo townhome. That's in a buyer's market. So you're going to sell in one of the best sellers markets right now and then go buy and be in a really good position to buy in a strong buyer's market. So you have to think about what you're trying to do, and is what I'm trying to do going to put me in a seller's market when I'm selling and a buyer's market when I'm buying, right? It's as simple as that. And like I said, I'd be more than happy to share these statistics with you, or if you want me to make them even more specific for you, I can. Let me get to my next slide here, and I hope I'm not getting too long-winded. But if you guys have any questions why I'm talking through all of this, do not be afraid to comment. Key takeaways for me. Location is a big factor. This already took me about 2 hours to put together. But if I were to go location by location, you'd be able to see even more differences. So if you're thinking, hey, I live in Clive right now and I want to move to Norwalk, how do those markets stack up to me? You can definitely reach out to me and I can do that particular analysis for you. But I will tell you, location does matter as well too. There's some locations that are strong sellers markets. One sec. There's some locations that are strong sellers markets, and there's some locations that are strong buyers markets. A lot of them are falling in that neutral because in a whole right now, our market is mostly neutral, as you guys saw from these stats. Price point does matter. I think that last slide that I showed you just in general how much of a difference it can make. Let's just take the $50,000 difference in a single family home can put you from a strong seller's market into a neutral market. The new construction, making that $30,000 difference put you from a seller's market to a buyer's market. Price point does matter as far as labeling what type of market this is. There are opportunities in every market. So, like I said earlier, there's opportunities right now for people to sell in a seller's market and buy in a buyer's market. But even if you're selling in a buyer's market, you get to then flip around and buy in a buyer's market. So even if you're buying in one that is the same, you're going to get the advantage on one of those transactions that you're making. You know, a lot of people in the real estate world will say that you make your money when you purchase. You get the best deal and you can build equity quicker because you get a home. I'm not going to say it a dip because Central Iowa doesn't have this big swings of the price values of their home, but you get your home in a time in a market when sellers are eager to sell because you're the only one offering. So things that come up in buyer's market, or people that are in buyer's market right now, or people that are offering on homes that sellers are eager to sell. I mean, we have buyers out there right now that are getting really good closing cost concessions. So they're saving money at closing. They're getting all of their closing costs paid for. They're getting all of their inspection requests done that they want to get done. There are advantages on top of even maybe just getting money off of that list price, and it puts you in a really good, convenient position when you're buying. And then on the flip side, if you're selling in the seller's market and then buying in the seller's market, yes, it can be annoying to find that next place, but say it's your first home that you ever bought, you're selling it at the peak. You don't have to do as many repairs. You might get a multiple offer situation. There's so many good situations you can put yourself into if you're a seller. No matter what kind of market you're in, there's some sort of advantage I can find for you. It truly just comes down to sitting down and talking to me about what are your goals, what is going to be the best timeline, how can I take advantage of this current market? And I can show you statistics. Even let's say hypothetically you have really broad range of price points that you can look at, or you have a really broad range of locations that you want to look at, I could point out to you the best markets for you to hunt in right now. Um, but no matter what kind of market there's advantages to be found. And I think inventory is going to keep increasing in the next few months. So I think some of these numbers may even change next month. So reach out to me if you're watching this video on that. Did get another comment? We got Nathan that commented on LinkedIn saying, Thomas, great info. How are you seeing sellers adjust right now? Are they sitting tight when it's buyer's market? Or are they starting to make more price concessions to get the deal done? I think I already kind of just talked about this, but concessions are kind of the name of the game right now, whether you're a resale seller or new construction. I can think of a new construction builder that just reached out to me yesterday and said, hey, you know that $2,500 closing cost credit that we were giving buyers? It's now $5,000. So the concessions that builders are giving out right now are better than they've ever been. And I could think of a townhome that I just put under contract a few weeks ago. Literally everything we put on the inspection request is being fixed. So sellers are making those types of concessions. They're keeping the numbers fairly strong. I haven't seen sold prices go down much at all, but there's concessions being made that affect buyers. You're getting all of the little knick-knacky repairs done. You're getting help at closing to save you cash. And what you could do with that cash is improve the home even more, or you could just set it aside, save it, watch that money grow. And then on top of you now owning a home, paying down equity, building appreciation, you have cash set aside that's compounding interest as well. And you're saving up for that next upgrade, that next move in making your way in the game. But other than sellers either sitting tight, keeping their house on market, and giving out concession, I'm going to be totally honest with you. We're seeing a lot more homes just come off the market. We're seeing more expired listings than we were seeing a year ago or 2 years ago, because there's sellers that are in situations where it all depends on the certain seller situations, but there's sellers in situations where they don't necessarily have to sell. They were listing it and they were saying, hey, if I can get that 400,000, I would get this much cash out proceeds and I can make this next move. And it's more of a want than it is a need. So there's a lot more homes coming off the market because of that right now. But overall, let's go back to this overall slide. And the next time someone asks you, how's the real estate market? You can say, hey, my boy Thomas hooked me up. I have a pretty good idea of where the market is at Central Iowa right now. We're sitting just in that neutral sweet zone as a whole. Resale single family is in the seller's market. Resale condo townhomes and new construction single family is in the neutral market. And new construction condos and townhomes are in a buyer's market. If you guys have any more questions, or if you want me to talk about something different next week because you think all these stats are boring, don't be afraid to comment. I will respond. I appreciate everyone for watching. And if you're bored watching this right now, hit that share button so more people can get this great info, because I put a lot of work into this. I don't want this to be a pity party or anything like that, but I think this is interesting information. And I think this answers a little bit of where our Central Iowa market is right now, just using one statistic. So I hope that you guys find that interesting, and I appreciate you guys for watching. Have a great day. Try to stay cool. It is way too hot out. So thank you.